I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Joe Pugh for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I know both of you done individual interviews yesterday with us, but there's been some news in the heavyweight division that I want to get your opinions on. But Adam, Shane, how are we, boys?
We're very well. Ron Weasley and Will, we're very well.
They're back. So, but before we started, the prima donna here, he didn't want to stand up to do an interview because we're travelling around London, kind of a bit queasy. But Adam, yeah?
Hey, we're in the BT Tower and it's like rotating and it's crazy. It's got me destabilised.
Shane, any backlash after yesterday's comments about John Fury?
Well, actually, I wasn't even called Ron Weasley. It's Ron Weasley's impersonator, so it's actually even worse. Someone called me Shermanator again as well.
Someone called you Jamie Vardy in the comments yesterday.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not the biggest fan of his missus, so I don't know. But yeah, I guess it could be worse, isn't it? Jamie Vardy ain't the worst, is he?
Yeah, so let's just get into it, really. Before we start about that, actually, press conference went all well today. I see you have a little bit of a dig at the heavyweight division, Adam.
No, look, it wasn't a dig at the heavyweight division. It's trying to remind people what boxing's about, and it's about filling stadiums, getting fighters fighting. It's not about sitting on the sidelines waiting just for one massive payday. And I think you've got to salute the fighters out there who sell a load of tickets, who inspire people. And I think Joe Joyce is one of them.
Over the past 3 fights then, well really ever since the Dubois win, Shane, how big has it been for Joe Joyce's profile? Because it seems like he's made that slow progression and he's like kind of really breaking through now, especially with this fight, big media attention to the mainstream audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Dubois fight, before then it was always a bit steady the way the rise was, even though the opponents were very good. And then boom, that was a massive fight, even more so because it was in lockdown, so there wasn't a lot else going on. And then his profile went through the roof. And then he had a bit of inactivity and he went into the Carlos Takam fight. And then that was a very good win, and actually done really well with tickets in that one for Wembley Arena. And then a bit of inactivity because he got picked up a bit of an injury. And then he fought in the Hammer fight, which was used as a tick over, really, that's what it was. And then went into the massive win against Parker, and since then, his profile's gone through the roof. You can't take him anywhere without him getting stopped everywhere. And the numbers he provides are very good. And he's just in that mix now. He's in that top 5 heavyweight mix. And when you're a top 5 heavyweight in the world, everyone wants a piece of you. Well, apart from the actual top 5, but yeah. But I mean, like, publicly, everyone wants a piece of him. And his profile has gone completely through the roof, yeah.
Adam, how important is it to build on this momentum now with Joe? Because they've kind of got the ball rolling, got to make a big statement against Zhang and really push on for world titles.
Yeah, look, when you've got a boxer like Joe Joyce in any weight class, he's kind of in the who needs him league. I think, Alex Krasuk said Joe Joyce is the hardest fight for Usyk. I think Shelley Finkel said Joyce is the hardest fight for Wilder. AJ's team acknowledge it. I think Tyson's talked about Joe. It's a difficult fight for everyone in the division. Oh, careful. It's a difficult fight for everyone in the division. And we can't just be sat here begging people to take him on. So when you have a boxer like that, you may well have to wait for your mandatory, which comes at the end of the year. We want the Tyson-Fury fight. I think it's very makeable. I think that capitalises on where Joe is in his career right now. But if we can't make it, we'll find the next best option. The best fight out there for Joe, and he'll do it. But yeah, Joe Joyce wants to be a world champion, wants to be undisputed, and we're going to get there.
Let's talk about this mandatory situation then. It is due to be mandated for the end of the year, but news broke yesterday. Simon Jordan come out and said that he'd heard, I don't know where from, but there's this kind of heavyweight tournament extravaganza in Saudi Arabia. Surely you, as the management team, can't let this happen for Joe Joyce, because he could be kind of left out in the cold for this year and the early parts of next if this happens.
No, I disagree. Look, first of all, I don't know if it's true. Secondly, if it is true, I think it's a clear attempt from people to try and, park people on the promise of something in December. As a manager, if you said to me, hey Adam, don't let Joe fight until the end of the year and I promise you we'll have a big fight, what happens if that doesn't happen? I've wasted 8 months of Joe Joyce's career. So I think there will be a big fight in Saudi at the end of the year. I think there'll be 2 people involved in it, not 4. And I think the Saudis are probably talking to people, it's my guess, if the rumour is true, to try and get everyone to pause for that. So I don't think it will hold up the heavyweight division. I think there'll be a big fight there. Could well be AJ Wilder, but it's not going to hold up our progress. And we're not going to call it off. I mean, if you do have big fights, I mean, if you did have a fight, AJ Wilder and Fury Usyk, brilliant, amazing if that happened. It'd be the most amazing fight night ever, but it's not going to happen.
And even if it did happen, would the WBO not be on the line then because Joe's got to have his turn?
Yeah, so look, we're talking about a pretty hypothetical situation, but you imagine by then, July, the Usyk, Dubois mandatory happens, they'll order Ergovic straight away afterwards. That will probably take place September, October. And then, for the WBO to be on the line, they'll either have to, it won't be on the line, they'll have to drop it because they can't fulfill the mandatory, so Joe becomes full world champion, or people have to get paid step-aside money.
Shane, would you be open to potentially having a mega fight in Saudi with Joe?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, listen, whatever the best opportunity is and the most money for Joe at the end of the day is where Joe will end up. So he's getting paid very well for this fight, but obviously if you get the Saudi opportunities and the Saudi money opportunities in the right fights as well, then obviously you'd always have to be up for it.
How confident are you that 2023 will end with Joe Joyce as world champion?
I think I'm confident that he'll be world champion by the end of the first quarter of 2024. I don't think I can say 2023 for sure, but that fight will happen end of 2023, first quarter of 2024. If it doesn't happen and someone won't face him because he's interim champion, he'll get upgraded and become what they call like email champion or whatever. But I think he will be a world champion then.
So theoretically, he couldn't fight for a vacant title. Would he instantly be elevated? There wouldn't be no vacant
because he's the WBO interim. It's their rules, yeah.
Vacant titles when it's number 1 and number 2 and the belt's gone and there's no interim champion, and that's when you would get, they'll do number 1 and the next person who accepts the challenge, a little bit like when they do a final eliminator and nobody wanted to fight Ergovic and they went down the list. It'd be the same for a vacant title.
Just on Saturday night then, rematch clause, no rematch clause for this one?
Don't want to talk about that right now.
Okay. No worries. Very quickly then, just moving on, we've spoke about Joyce Zhang, rightly so, all week. Just touch on a few of your other fighters. Florian Marku, I saw you was in the Sky studio the other day with him. Shane, when we're going to get some news on him?
Yeah, very soon, just working on an actual fight date, but it's going to be very near in the early-ish summer, I would imagine, but just working on a show that we can get him on, but an announcement in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine. So.
And another big heavyweight, Johnny Fisher. Obviously, we want to see him out very soon, I'm imagining, Adam.
Yeah, we want to see him out soon. He will be out soon in London. Should be in London.
Back. So no more away days for the Rock Football Army just yet.
Football Army deserve a London date.
To not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,